In today's video, we're going to crochet some cozy gloves for the winter season. All you need is some basic wool yarn and a 6mm crochet needle, and then we can get started. So before we start, I just want to give you a little tip, and that is make some notes while you crochet. So for example, now we're going to start with step number 1. We're going to make a chain that will define the length of your glove. So it will be from the tip of your thumb and all the way down to where you want your glove to start. So write down the amount of stitches you make on your chain, so when you crochet the second glove, you have the same size. All right, so let's start with making a slip knot. So grab your yarn, wrap it around your fingers like this, cross them over, slide it off, and just pull the yarn through the loop. So now we're going to start crocheting the chain that will define the length of your glove. So hook the yarn and pull it through the loop. Again, like this. So just make any number you want. And then we just measure from the tip of our thumb. Yeah, this feels good for me. So when you're done, we make one more chain like this to start the next row. All right, so let's move on to the second step. And that is, now we're going to crochet single crochets all across this chain right here. So in the second loop from your needle, so we have 1, 2, we dive down with the needle, hook the yarn and pull it up. Then we hook the yarn again and pull through both loops. There you have a single crochet. So dive down to the next one, hook the yarn, pull it up, hook the yarn again, and pull through both loops. And just continue making single crochets all the way to the end of the row. So now I'm almost at the end of the row. I'm making my final single crochet. And then we always end with chaining 1 before we turn the work around. Okay. So now for the next step, we're gonna start with crocheting rib stitch. And that means we're gonna make slip stitches only in the back loop. Let me see if I can show you. So this will be the back loop right here. And the rib stitch effect, you can choose how wide you want that to be. So that will be like the base of the glove. So for my glove, I decided to go for 10 rib stitches before I continue. And of course, this is all up to you. You can do as many as you like. So we dive down with the needle only in the back loop, like this. Then we hook the yarn and pull it up. And then we pull it through the loop like this. And that is a slip stitch. So again, we dive down in the back loop. You hook the yarn, pull it up, and pull through the loop like this. So just continue any amount you like for the rib stitch. I decided on 10 for my glove, but you do any amount you like. And here is also a good thing to write down a little note on how many you choose, so you know for the second glove. Okay, I have 9 and 10. So this is the length I want for my rib stitch. And then we just continue crocheting single crochets all the way to the top. And in the last stitch, we're going to make an increase. And I will show you how we do that when we get there. So just continue making single crochets when you're done with the rib stitch. And I will meet you at the end of the row and show you how we make the increase. So now I'm almost at the end of the row. So I make one more. And now I'm at the last stitch of my row. So I make one single crochet. And then for the increase, we make 2 in the same stitch. So one more. Like that. And then we always end with chaining 1. And then we turn the work around. And now for crocheting back down again, we start with making another increase. So in the first stitch, we make 2 single crochets right there. So 1 and 2 in the same one. And then you make single crochets all the way down to where your rib stitch starts. And then we make the rib stitch at the final stitches of the row. So I make one more. I'm just gonna check. Okay, so here you can see that my rib stitch starts. So again, we make slip stitches only in the back loop. So back loop, hook the yarn, pull it up, and pull it through the loop. Again, back loop, hook the yarn and pull it up and through the loop. So we always make rib stitches where the rib stitches are, so we get the same effect. And this technique is a little bit tighter than the rest, but that is all good. That's the way it's supposed to be. So the rib stitch will be a little bit tighter around the wrist to keep the glove in place. Making my final one like this. And remember, we end with 1 chain and then we turn the work around. And now we're going to continue with the next step. This is round number 2. So this part we're crocheting right now is the first half of the thumb. So now we have made up and down with increases, and now we're going to start making decreases, so it gets a little bit rounded at the top. So again, we start with the rib stitch. I think it's easier to have the yarn in the back like that. So remember, we make slip stitches only in the back loop for the ribbing. Make my final one. And again, we continue with single crochets to the top, but since when we get to the top in the two last stitches, we're going to turn those into 1. So that's a decrease. And I will show you when we get there how we do that. So just continue crocheting single crochets until the end. So now I'm almost at the end of the row. And remember the second or the 2 last stitches, which is these 2 right here. So make 1 more. So now we're making a decrease. So dive down with the needle in the next stitch, pull up the yarn. So you have 2 loops. And again, we pull down, or we dive down with the needle in the last stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 3 loops on your needle. And then we hook the yarn again and pull through all 3 loops all at once. And that's a decrease. And again, chain 1, turn the work around, and we're going to crochet all the way back down again. So we start with another decrease. So dive down in the first stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. And again, second one, hook it and pull it up. So you have 3 loops, hook the yarn and pull through all 3 loops. And that is a second decrease. And just crochet single crochets all the way down to where the rib stitch starts. Make the rib stitch, and then we're done with this step. Make my final one, and remember, always end with 1 chain and then we turn the work around. So here we have the first half of the thumb. It's supposed to look something like this. So you can see that the rib stitch is a bit tighter than the rest, but that's the way it's supposed to be. So for the next step, we're going to crochet the width of the rest of the glove. So now we made the thumb. So place your hand above this and put a marker where the opening right here is. So I would like it to be about here. So I just place a safety pin right there. And of course, again, you can always write down how many stitches from the top of your thumb you had to where this opening is. So you have the same for the other glove, but again, you can always just measure that for the other hand. All right, so now I place my marker. We're gonna crochet. Again, we make the ribbing, the rib stitch first, and then we crochet single crochets up to where the marker is. So start with that. And when you get to the stitch where the marker is, just take it out like that. And in this one, we make 2 single crochets in the same one. So 1 and 2. And from this place right here, we're going to crochet a chain up to the point or the tip of your index finger. So in between these 2 stitches we just made, dive down with the needle, pull the yarn up and make a single crochet like that. And then we just make a chain with single crochets all the way up. It's a little bit tricky, but I hope you can see. So I just try to dive down underneath these 2 top loops right here, like that. Let's see now. Yeah, I think this is fine. Maybe one more. Like that. All right, so now I'm happy with the length of my chain. And again, we end with chaining 1 and we turn the work around. And just to remind you, it's a good thing to write down how many stitches you had on your notes for the next glove. So now we turn the work around. And now we're going to crochet all the way back down. Single crochets, 1 in each stitch. So just dive down in the first one. And of course you make the rib stitch where the rib stitches are. Just to be super clear. Just make sure you always find the last stitch here with the rib stitch. Sometimes it can be a little bit hidden. Like that. And again, we chain 1 and then we can turn the work around. I just want to see what it looks like now. So here we have it. Now we turn the work around and start with the next step. So now for this round, we're going to crochet an increase. So again, make the rib stitch, crochet all the way up. And in the last stitch, we make 2 single crochets in the same one for the increase. I will show you when we get there. So start with the rib stitch. And when you get to the top, in this last stitch right here, so I make just 1 more. And then we make an increase, and again 2 stitches in the same. So 1 single crochet, dive down in the same stitch. Now we make 2. Make a chain, turn the work around. Now we crochet back down. And again, we start with an increase. Dive down in the first stitch, make 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And then just crochet all the way back down. So now I'm almost all the way down again. Make my final slip stitch right here. And then we end with the chain and turn the work around. So for this next step, we're going to crochet what I call rounds. So that means we crochet from the bottom to the top and then back down again. That is 1 round. So start with making 2 And then measure, because for me it's enough with 2, and that will be about here, about half of my palm before we start doing decreases. So crochet 2 rounds and then measure. You can do 3 or 4. I have quite narrow hands and I like my glove to be tight, but that is up to you. So I will crochet 2 rounds and show you what that looks like. So again, we just crochet the rib stitch and then single crochets to the top and then go back down. So no increases and no decreases. So now you can see I have crocheted my second round, and I will show you what that looks like. So if I put my hand up here, you can see that it's just over the half size of my palm, and that is enough for me. But if you want, you can make 1 more or 2 more rounds, and then we continue with the next step. So I'm good here, so I will continue with the other half of the palm. So now we're going to make decreases and continue the curve downwards. So for the next step, like I said, we will continue with decreases, and that means 2 rounds. So from the bottom to the top and back down, that is 1 round. So that will be decreases at the top, and when we turn around, we will make a decrease again and go back down. So start with the rib stitch, and when we get to the top, I will show you again how we do the decrease. But if you already know, you can just make 2 rounds with the decreases and move and continue with the next step. So now I'm at the end of the row, and again I have my 2 last stitches, and we're going to make a decrease. So we dive down in the next stitch, pull the yarn up so you have 2 loops, and in the final one we dive down again, hook the yarn and pull it up so we have 3 loops, and hook the yarn and pull through all 3 loops. So that's the decrease. Chain 1, turn the work around, and then we start with a decrease again. So first stitch, pull the loop up, second stitch, pull the loop up, and just pull through all 3 loops, and then crochet all the way back down again. So now I'm crocheting the final stitches of the rib stitch, and I have 1 and 1 more. It's hiding a little bit down here. Sometimes they do that. Make the final one like that. Chain 1, and then we turn around, and then we make 1 more round of decreases. So repeat the same step once more. So now I have crocheted all the way back down. I'm making my final one here. Again, is it a little bit hidden? And then we end with a chain. And now we have crocheted the first half of the glove. So this will be approximately the size. So we're going to crochet the other half, and that will be your first glove. So to continue with the other half of the glove, we're going to start with 2 rounds of increases. So we make it a little bit bigger again. So just repeat the rib stitch here in the beginning, and when we get to the top, I will show you how we do the increase again. But if you already know, just crochet 2 rounds of increases, and then you can meet me at the next step. So when you get to the top, the increase, we make 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So I have my last one here. So I make 1 and 2 in the same one. And with 1 chain, turn the work around, and then we start again with an increase. So in the first stitch, I make 1 and 2. And then I crochet all the way back down. And this is the first round then. So now we're all the way down to the bottom. And we end with the chain. Then we're going to make the last round of increases. So just repeat the same steps one more time. And then I will meet you at the next step. So now I have crocheted all the way back down again. So I am done with my second round with the increases. So now turn your work around. Now we're going to make 2 or as many as you did for the middle section of the palm. So do you remember if you made 2, 3, or 4 with no increases or decreases? So we're just going to repeat that step again. So I made 2 rounds. So I will crochet 2 rounds, no increases, no decreases. Just repeat that step. That's why it's good to keep a little notes while you go. Also for the second glove, so you remember how big you made your glove. So now I'm at the top of the first round. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch. No increase, no decrease. End with the chain, turn around, and we go back down. So now I'm all the way back down again on my first round. So I chain 1 when I'm done, turn around, and I'll make 1 more, or again, as many as you did on the other half. So I made 2 rounds of no increases or decreases. So I just continue making 1 more, and then we continue with the next step. So when you have crocheted the amount of rounds for the middle section, we're going to start with the other step, and that is the decreases again. So for the first half of the glove, we made 2 decreases, and then we started the other half. So again, we're going to make 2 decreases, but the first one is normally, so you crochet up and down. But the other one, we're going to start crocheting the other half of the thumb. So crochet 1 round if you want to. I will show you how we do that. And then for the second one, I will show you the steps and how we start with the other half of the thumb. So again, we start with the rib stitch, crochet all the way up to the top, and there we're going to make a decrease, and I will meet you there. And remember, we're making a decrease. That means 2 stitches become 1, so we're making it smaller. Oops, let's redo that one. Okay, so now I have the 2 final stitches of my row. So I just dive down in 1, pull up the yarn, so I have 2 loops around my needle, and in the final one, or the last one, dive down again, pull the yarn up, so I have 3, hook the yarn and pull through all 3 loops. Chain 1, and then we turn around, and again we start with the decrease, so dive down in the first stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. In the second one, hook the yarn and pull it up again, and pull through all 3 loops. Just crochet all the way back down. So now we are back down again at the bottom. Make my final rib stitch right there, chain 1, we turn the work around, and again we crochet to the top and make a decrease, and then we turn back down. So crochet to the top, and I will meet you there and tell you how we work when we go down, because on the way back down we're going to start with the other half of the thumb. Crochet to the top, so I have the final 2 stitches. We make a decrease like this, chain 1 and turn around, and again we make a decrease to start with. And now we need to measure out where the thumb is supposed to start. So one way to do that is to fold it in half and grab your marker and just place it wherever the other one is. Also, if you made a note of how many stitches you had from the top, you can use that as well. But I just placed a marker, so I know that I can crochet single crochets all the way down to the marker. So do that. When you get to the stitch where your marker is, just remove it. And again, in that stitch, you make 2 single crochets. So you make 1, and then you make 2. And then we make the chain we did with the first half. So I think it's easier to do it from this side. I just turn it around. So in between these 2 stitches, we dive down with the needle, pull up the yarn, and make a single crochet. Then you just make a chain like you did with the first half of the thumb. Make the same amount of stitches. So when you made the chain for the other half of the thumb, you can always just measure them and see that they are about the same length. So now we're going to crochet back down again. So it will look something like this. So imagine crocheting back down. So now we're going to start with making a increase. So in the first stitch, of course, you always end with a chain. So in the first stitch, we make an increase. So you make 2 single crochets. So I have 1 and 2. And then you just continue crocheting all the way back down. So now I'm all the way back down again. Make my final 2. And with a chain, and then we turn the work around. So now we're going to crochet all the way back up. So on the way up, we just crochet 1 in every stitch until we get to the top. And then on the way back down, we make a decrease. So just crochet 1 stitch in every stitch all the way to the top. And here I'm at the top, so I crochet my final stitch right here. So no increase, no decrease, just all the way up. And then I finish with the chain, and then I turn around. And on my way down, we're going to start with a decrease. So again, dive down in the first stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. In the second stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up again. Hook the yarn and pull through all 3 loops. And then just crochet all the way back down. So now I am all the way back down. Final stitch, chain 1, and then we turn the work around. Now, let me just get a bit more yarn, like that. So now we have 1 round to go, and then we're almost done with our glove. So for the final round, we make decrease both on the way up and on the way down. So crochet to the top, make a decrease, turn around, make a decrease, and go back down. So now we're at the top, and I have my final 2 stitches. So I make a decrease, First in the second one, and in the last one, and pull through all 3. Chain 1 and turn around, and then we'll make another decrease. So go down in the first one, second one, and pull through all 3 loops, and just crochet all the way back down. And final, let's see, final stitch, chain 1, and then we are almost done with the glove. Now the only step that is left is to fold it in half and crochet it together. So to turn this into one glove, or a close glove, we fold it in half like this, and then we're going to make slip stitches all the way around the edge right here. So remember, the slip stitch is when, so also to clarify, it's going to be slip stitches in just like the 2 closest stitches to each other. So can you see here, like these 2, the ones that are closest to each other. So if I start here, I'm just gonna find one, the first one on the other half. It's being a little bit, so I'm just gonna pull through like that just to start. And then we find the 2 closest loops, these 2, and you hook the yarn and just pull through all the loops all at once. So find the 2 closest ones again, like that, hook the yarn and pull through all of them, and just go all the way around until the top, and I will meet you there and show you how we finish. Just make one final one right there. Now I have crocheted all the way around along the edge right here. So then I just pull out the yarn, and I cut it off. Actually, that's a bit of a fuss. We always end with the chain, of course. My bad. Right? So then we tighten it so it becomes a knot. And then I try to hide this one, depending on if you want this to be the outside or if you want to turn it inside out. You hide it either on this side and then turn it inside out, or you go on the inside and hide the yarn. So I actually like this, so I'm just gonna show you how I do it. So just crochet back and forth and just pull the yarn through, like stitching, like this. Then when you feel you're done, I'm gonna make one more, I think, like that. Then we can just cut it off like this. Now you're done. So now you have your glove, and of course you can do the same with this end right here. So just hide that one and cut it off. Done. Great job. We made it. Now we're all set for the winter season. And thank you so much for crocheting with me and you today. Don't forget to check out more videos on our website, and I hope to see you in the next one.